Hi, welcome to CCTV, Channel 17, live at 525, Preservation Burlington show. It's only been about 25 years I've been doing this now, and I can't memorize that. Preservation Burlington is a nonprofit 501c3 organization whose mission is to preserve and protect the historic architecture and livability of Burlington. I can expand on that, but I won't. And through education and advocacy, tonight's topic.
Phenomenal. Good job.
I think it's going to be a great show.
Yes.
I'm amongst friends. Karen, Norwood, thank you for being here.
I'm excited to be here to talk about architecture and how to reach kids and students about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, that last part I believe. The first part about excited to be here, I was going to say, you know you're attached to a polygraph, right?
Yeah.
Stop.
What do we have coming up?
Well, tonight, right after the show, we're gonna have to run over to Contoy's Auditorium for Chris Hadzel's talk on painted theater curtains. Right,
Yep.
That's tonight.
She was on the show 2 months ago?
Yes. Yeah. And then coming up, we've got what's first? The Rambo.
Yep, the Ramble this Saturday. We're going to do a walking tour of Elmwood Cemetery, focusing on specifically the Black population that's buried there. And that's going to be from 2 to 3 p.m. And then we're also going to have our booth from 11 to 3. So you're welcome to come by and
Preservation Burlington Treasurer Jack Mentes and myself will be manning the booth. So
Fabulous T-shirts, totes.
Come and give us a hard time if you want.
Yep.
Buy some stuff.
And who's leading the tour? It's Elise Gayet, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Can I borrow your phone so we can Venmo stuff? Because none of us have done that.
And then we have a Church Street walking tour, August 10th.
Yep.
Right, 10 a.m. So that'll be great. Behave yourself.
And of course, the Art Hop eventually.
Yeah.
What are the dates for Art Hop?
It's usually the first weekend in September after Labor Day weekend, Saturday, and then we'll have tours. Usually we do like a 10 a.m. tour and a 1 p.m. tour.
Yep, of the whole Pine Street
Yep.
Industrial District area, which is undergoing all kinds of stuff right now. so.
Burlington is undergoing
Yes.
everything all at once.
I haven't
It's
been in
really hard to
downtown
get
for like 3
yeah.
years now because I can't get anywhere.
You still can't.
Unless you walk, but.
Yeah. Or I just bought a moped so I can
Half
get around.
kidding.
So that's going to be great fun.
A moped?
I did. But anyway, that's not.
Why do you bring that up now?
I don't know.
Karen, thank you for being here.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Let's get to our topic because I know, how many years ago was it when gosh, were you still in school when we started talking about, you wanted to put together this toolkit?
Yeah, so I was a graduate student at the University of Vermont's Historic Preservation Program when I joined the board, and then I also came up with this idea of how can we create materials to reach a younger audience in Vermont, and particularly in Burlington. So I partnered with Preservation Burlington, created a whole bunch of lesson materials and resources that we could use, teachers could use, families could use, to learn more about Burlington and to get students and kids just excited about the built environment around them. I think that architecture is such a great way for students to be introduced to history, to learn about their local environment, to learn about the history right around them, because it's really fun and interesting. And who doesn't love to look at buildings and thinking about designing buildings? I just think it's such a high interest topic.
Yeah, it's a good toe in the door, It's like, because like you said, it engages kids because they see it, they go in and out of buildings, you get them interested in that, and then all of a sudden, who built it? When did they build it? And then, because we all hated history in school, right?
It was mind-numbing.
It's mind-numbing.
I never thought I would end up becoming a historian. I don't know about you, but I was like, oh my gosh. What I really like about the toolkit is that it has chunks of things. It has physical things in it, like pieces of, entablatures and, rocks and bricks and things really tactile, and it really helps kids learn. So for anybody who hasn't seen it or hasn't borrowed it, it's like a couple of tubs of stuff, right?
Yeah, yep. And if you were interested in borrowing it as a family, or if you were an educator like myself, and you wanted to borrow it for your classroom, you can certainly do that just reaching out to us through our website. We also have a lot of online materials too that you are free to take a look at. And I'm just going to kind of introduce what's out there, and you can pick and choose the things that you might want to bring to your kids or to your students.
Okay, let's take a drive through the website.
Awesome. So just a couple of things too to start thinking about about things. If you're introducing kids to architecture, the best way to do this is to like get them out in their neighborhood, get them looking around, ask them what they see, and to start making observations. I think Burlington in particular, but then also throughout Vermont, like we have such rich historic architecture, and it's so easy to just go outside and start just asking your kids, what do you see, and getting them excited about it. So that's like the number one thing you can do. Something else, like besides the toolkit, designing buildings of your own, that's such a high interest thing to get kids excited. And then also reading architecture picture books. Like I just brought a couple examples with me today. Architects Make Zigzags. This is an old book, but it's really fun to go through. It goes through the alphabet, introduces things like coins. This is by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Also like coloring books too. Again, really easy ways to get kids interested in looking at architecture right from the get-go.
We have a couple of coloring books, right, available.
Yeah, we totally do. I should have brought them with me. We
So,
also have coloring books.
I meant to, and I forgot to as well.
They'll be available on our website and at the table on
Yeah.
at
Yep.
the
You
Ramble.
can come on the Ramble and get one.
Yeah. And then also free resources like our toolkit. So I'm going to go a little bit into that now. So this was designed for ages 8 to 13, 4th to 8th grade. I'm a middle school teacher, and a lot of these activities are activities that I would use with my own classroom and my own students. And in fact, I think like just from a teaching perspective, if you're an educator, I really love to start out my school year looking at architecture and building community, because it's, again, just such an accessible thing for students to think about. What does my home look like? What does home look like across the world? What does architecture look like around the world? And again, when you start looking at your local community and thinking about history and what's around you, it's, again, just so high interest, because kids are going to be like, what's the history of my house? What's the history of my community, my neighborhood? And so this is just giving you some tools to start exploring those resources.
It's a great way to trick kids into being interested in history.
Yes.
And community, right?
And community.
And
Absolutely.
where they
Right, the development patterns, you just showed that picture of that sort of prairie style, Frank Lloyd Wright-esque kind of thing. When did that happen in Burlington? Why did it happen? Where, what was the bigger movement and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's so great for like inquiry-based activities with kids. So the toolkit, again, was to get them excited about architecture, get them observing their surroundings and asking questions. And then there's a bunch of fine print there that I wrote. We don't have to read all of it, but it gets kids not only looking at historic architecture, but then also like different components, and then also thinking about like potential different jobs within historic preservation.
Thank you.
I know, there are jobs out there, people, there are.
Some of them even pay.
Tons.
So yeah, I'll go into some of the lessons. I divided up into 3 sections. Again, these are all accessible on our website, and you can, again, pick and choose what you're interested in. All of the materials that are available, they have background information. So if you don't know anything about, say, historic building materials, there's a little blurb about it to teach you about those resources. There's learning goals, essential questions, and then an outline of how to go about teaching your kids or your students about these topics.
This is my favorite one. Right
Yeah,
here.
right, Ron?
Building
Right up your alley.
materials, right?
I think I got a number of materials
I think I
from
actually
you.
used that for the UVM historic
class that
preservation
you
for the
taught.
class that I taught.
Oh, amazing.
Yep.
No, they weren't.
Don't tell anybody that it was geared towards middle school students.
So I'm curious, like
Yeah.
for parents or like that homeschool or educators, does this fit within like state curriculum guidelines? Can it go into it, or are these
Oh,
really
yeah.
just supplemental?
Absolutely. I think when I originally had written this 10 years ago, it was kind of attached with Vermont standards at the time, but now social studies teachers use either Common Core or the C3s, and so the C3s really focus on like history, inquiry, so you can absolutely use any of those C3 standards, which I use for like learning about like doing research and that sort of thing. So absolutely, you can attach this to the standards that you're teaching. Yeah. So like the first section is kind of looking at just like the very basic things of like what's architecture, what makes a building historic, what's historic preservation, and then there's something that's really fun on here that I created, which are field notebooks for kids. And so this is something you could print out at home, you could print out at school, and it's basically just this really cool booklet about like different buildings in Burlington. And again, this is something too that if you don't live in Burlington, you could still use this
Anywhere.
in any
Anywhere.
community
Anywhere.
in Vermont. Because so much of like what we have in Burlington for historic architecture, you have in southern Vermont, in
Yep.
central Vermont. So absolutely could be used across Vermont, not just in Burlington. But yeah, like it goes into like different parts of the house. And talks about how buildings change over time. And that's something that I think is really interesting for, again, when you're going around your community and you're looking at a building that, you know, might look very different from how it originally looked. And so then,
What are the clues? And yeah.
yeah, and then, you know, introducing kids to like looking at old photographs or postcards. Like there's so many ways to access history through looking at buildings and architecture.
I love that poster, and I love the, you know, except, you know, I mean, the idea of that slow degradation of architectural, but when you work with the materials and you're in a house and then you find, again, it's like that research. You find ghost marks, you find evidence of what was there before, and then it's now your job to try and bring that back. That's the best
Maybe,
part.
like I was just going to say, evolution isn't always positive. It's not always a good thing,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's not. Look what happened to humans.
It's true.
But yeah, here's just a little bit more from that booklet. It also goes into like main identifying styles of prominent architecture in the Burlington area, Vermont in general. And again, just provides an easy access point for students to learn about different architectural styles.
Did Devin put this one together?
No, I put it together.
You did. Good job. Good job.
Elbow him.
So the second section of this was looking at historic building structure and materials. And this was getting kids to think about, like, if you were to build your own historic house, what would you want to include? And so this is kind of after maybe students have had a chance to look around their community and see the things that they really like. Maybe they really love, like, the Queen Anne towers.
Yeah, they
or
can start
the different
picking
siding.
styles, you
Right.
know.
And so you could piece together a building that you really like. And I think with architecture, like everyone has kind of different preferences. Like you might really love, for instance, what's your favorite architectural style, you guys? Putting you on the
Right now
spot.
it's prairie.
Ooh.
I really would love a
It's
little craftsman
almost
house.
always Second Empire, except that Italianate's a runner-up, and of course my house is Italianate, so I feel obligated to like Italianate more now.
Although, like, you know, I live in a post-war house, which is historic now. And my house is turning 70, and who knew?
That's right.
Yeah, buildings
Yep.
in the new
I need
North
to talk to you
End.
about windows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite style?
I feel like I vacillate all the time, but I really love like the old. So I love like Georgians and Federals, and then I've also
The originals, not the revivals.
The originals, not the revivals. I mean, I do love the revivals too.
Yeah, they can be well done.
Yeah, absolutely. They can be. And then, like, I think I've always loved, like, Italianates for sure. But, you know, preferences change, and architecture's also fun.
So it would be fun, you know, it would be fun, you know, that exercise, you know, if you're asking kids with, you know, limited deep experience, but now they've seen a bunch of stuff to draw their historic house,
Yeah.
that could be hilarious.
It could be.
It could be a little bit of everything.
Could be the start of something.
It's like architectural Mad Libs.
A new architectural style, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So again, like just like a fun way for kids to get engaged with what's around them. Other parts of this toolkit have exploring historic building materials, and then doing like neighborhood walks. And I put together some I Spy sheets that again like could be completely one-off activities. They could be things that you could just like print out and do with your family, not necessarily part of the scope and sequence. So just a lot of different resources. And you can see
We've done a
on-
couple of those
Like scavenger hunts.
scavenger hunts,
Yeah,
architectural
absolutely.
scavenger hunts.
And so this one has like looking at different building parts in Burlington or architectural details. So again, really having kids look at their environment around them. And again, just really making history accessible.
I think this would be a great exercise for the board, actually, and for
I
some of our new
know.
members. So we should do a little walking.
If you could turn it
I
into a
Spy tour.
drinking game, that'd be amazing.
You're on TV.
But again, so these resources, again, you can get them right off our website or do some sort of variation of them on your own.
Yeah, feel free to steal anything you
Yeah.
think works here.
Absolutely.
You know.
So the third section of this is like how Burlington developed over time. So This actually provides like the history. I don't know if I can like click on this here or not. I don't know if I can. I may have a little bit of a snippet on the later slides. Reading the built environment, community structure and building types, and then mapping your community. So moving a little bit to looking at like doing some history research around what is in your community. And I think what's really great about history or historical research around buildings is that there's a lot of primary sources that you can use that are visual. And again, I think that really provides a great access point for students to get interested in history versus like reading a dense historical letter or text that often really has a barrier for students, literacy-wise. So maps, photographs, those are things that kids, early on can be like, okay, I can look at this and say what's in it, and then start to make some comparisons between, 1893 and the 1906 map or something like that.
And it lends itself to, again, back to your sense of community. Your different neighborhoods developed at different periods of time. So once they start to recognize those architectural styles or look into that, all these buildings came up around 1860 to 1890, They tend to be all those Italianates and
Yeah, I think the point too about barriers is really valid, because I think a lot of the resources are barriers to adult researchers as well, like reading script, from the 1700s, or reading through legal documents, or there's a lot that you have to like slog through before you get to the real juicy, meaty stuff. So
I love collecting old, the old books on woodworking, treatises on stair building, and I like collecting reprints of those, and I read it. But what happens is
S's or F's. And
I get drawn into just the language of it, and I don't retain anything they're actually saying. I have to read everything 4
You're
times.
expending so many calories.
Yeah, I'm just
trying
like,
to
oh my
understand
goodness,
the
what?
words.
Oh, that's hilarious the way they say that.
Yeah. And I think again that's why like historic preservation, historic architecture is so valuable for teaching kids historical thinking skills, because it is so accessible for a younger age. So like I'll often start, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'll often start my school year and my research topics with architecture, because it is so visual, teaching kids about primary sources. And then, kids will build those historical thinking skills, and then when you're introducing historical texts, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, and they're already hooked.
Something to connect it to.
Yeah.
They're connecting the two. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what else I have on here. I have some images that are available as part of the toolkit in the lessons. College Street in Burlington, Vermont.
Wow.
Around what year? That was probably around the ravine, right?
Yes, yeah, I think this is right around where like the ravine was. And so you can even provide something like this to students and say, what do you see here? And or to your kids, like even like, what do you see here? Is this the same? And then you could go for a walk and take a look at College Street and say, how is this different?
Oh my goodness, that building's still there.
Yeah.
And everything else is so different.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any buildings that are still there in this image now that I'm really looking at it.
I don't know. I'd have to stand there and look.
Right.
And then they filled the ravine with garbage and dead cats. So.
They did. That's actually right in the newspaper. They're like, bring out whatever you can. We're going to try to fill this ravine up. Bring out your trash. So.
Yeah, great archaeological dig now.
It really would be, except I think probably a lot of that's like under the library now. And
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
it's all
right.
covered up.
The sinkhole.
Or behind the firehouse. So if they start developing the gateway block, they'll actually.
Oh, they're going to be finding it then.
They're
Yeah.
finding a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Let's see what else I have on here. Okay, so next section of this was looking at historic architectural styles, looking at like doing a survey of your community. And this is really cool too, because you can have kids start to look at trends in their neighborhood. So you're walking down, and for example, along my street that I live on, Willard Street, and you'll see tons and tons of Queen Anne's. And so you can start to be like, okay, there's mostly Queen Anne's here, or like there's like one Greek revival. And so you can start to make connections about when that community was developed. And I think that's just so exciting. Also on this has some things about what would it be to be a historic preservation? What kind of job is that? Or being a historian. So having some opportunities for kids to explore different careers in in historic preservation.
Stonemasonry, perhaps.
Yeah, well,
I love this, like, be the historic preservationist, because like kids love to like get a little badge and like, okay, I'm off, I'm pretending to be this thing, and that's so fun.
Yeah, and it is. I think, like, again,
should create
just
little badges.
so engaging, right? Yeah, absolutely. So again, there's lots of resources on our website. This is like a visual survey of architectural styles. You can easily put this on a clipboard after you spend some time learning about the different styles. And then go out and have kids just be like, okay, I think I see this. Or you can even go into more detail and you know, look at like house numbers or do research on those buildings. Like maybe you find a building that you really love and you write that down, and then you can do some historic research on that building. And thankfully, we have so many resources online through like UVM CDI collection. I think they're like the best for that, or like historic newspaper databases.
That's all available online now. It's not like you have to go to special collections anymore or
right.
the basement of City Hall.
Yeah, you may need to buy subscriptions to access some of the stuff, but there's so much more accessible now than there used to be.
Yeah. Let's see, what else do I have on here? Additional activities. So
Albert Whittakin.
I know, right? So I have some local things for the Burlington area, but also thinking about, you know, adaptive reuse. So this is something too that could be really fun for kids. If you had like an old building in, for example, maybe like Memorial Auditorium.
Right.
Right?
Good example.
And, yeah. Or, and so you look at that building and think about like, hey, this building, its use has changed now. What could be a new use for that space? They could come up with a business plan. They could come up with like, there's a lot of really fun ways that you could look at, you know, the architecture and how you could
Great
use it.
mental exercises for kids to come up with, like you know, looking at something, they get to, it's like a puzzle. This whole thing is like a puzzle a little bit, and then they get to like you said, just promote, like, okay, it could be this, it's not that anymore.
I think
they engage with what the
They
building
engage
is.
with it, and then
was.
they engage the adults around them too, like the parents, right? And so then they're thinking about adaptive reuse. I have to say, in college or at UVM, you probably did this one too, where we had to do an adaptive reuse thing. And I got the old historic Newport jail, and that was just so fun to reimagine. It's a repurpose. I think our group idea ended up being a daycare. It was great.
Yeah, I think I had
Makes
one of the
sense.
chapels.
just
I had
shut
one of
them
the
in.
chapels over in the Ethan Allen complex, and for that one, we came up with having it as like a bike shop and a cafe. And so, you know, from working with students personally, I think that kids really love having the opportunity to take ownership over something and to create something new. And adaptive reuse is a great way to do that.
Right, and then they can present their findings, right, to groups and
Yeah, absolutely.
parents and schools, and I think it's great.
Be so fun. Also on this, we have some local stuff. So John Roberts, he's a Burlington builder. Those
We
houses
just
are
found.
really distinct. Wait, what? We did?
What?
I found where he is. He's where his remains are. So that's
Because he
to come.
disappeared,
He
right?
disappeared.
Right.
These buildings are all over town,
So
vernacular,
exciting.
distinctive.
Where is he buried?
Mechanicsville, New York.
Fascinating.
Yep.
I think I have a picture of some of his buildings on this too. So there's some up right here.
Right there, yeah.
So distinctive.
Really lovely, so distinctive, and it's really fun to do kind of a scavenger hunt across Burlington to look for these buildings because they're all over.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, so fun, so unique. And I think with this, we even had like a coloring sheet activity, which could be really fun. So they could, after looking at these different buildings, students can, you know, color in their own John Roberts house, which is
Which
Come up with
everybody's
your own
doing.
design,
Yeah,
right?
right.
your own design, come up with your own color scheme, and you know, it's a vernacular Queen Anne, and Queen Anne's often had really bright, you know, colors, and again, just a fun way to access architecture. Let's see what else is on here. Oh, just some more John Roberts. I love them.
They are
great.
They are, you know, when you say favorite architecture, right? That's one of them for sure. Living in Burlington and stumbling on these and then seeing more and more and more of them.
And for me, I love these because they're so relatable. They're like scaled down to normal size. Like, you know, they're not a mansion that you
they're
can't
vernacular
imagine.
architecture with the flair.
Yes.
Well, they were, it's supposed to be middle income families or low income families.
Housing,
that afford these.
worker housing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're pretty expensive now, though.
Oh, yes. Gentrification at its best.
And then some additional materials that are available also. And I will say too, if you do have, we offer also walking tours with school groups. So recently, actually I think in the spring, we had a group from, was it CVU?
I think so.
Yep, so CVU school group did a walking tour with us down looking at Church Street architecture, I believe, and so that's also something available to educators as well, if that's something
Ryan
you wanna
ran
do.
that last one,
Yeah.
right? Yep.
Yeah, we also do older kids, you know, so we've done St. Mike's College too, and
Yeah.
UVM students, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of these things you can access on our website, and you can reach out and ask us for stuff. And we, of course, customize tours and stuff. The
Yeah,
bus
definitely.
tours sometimes, and
The other thing too, which I'm not quite sure is if it's up on our website or not yet, but something that is available too is we recently had a couple years ago an intern, Isabella Vivanco, and she did a really incredible job of creating very similar to kind of this historic toolkit, just a whole outline of curriculum around Burlington's parks.
Yes.
And that too is just another way for kids and students to access history, local history right around them. And she put a tremendous amount of work in that. And so if it's not up on our website yet, I'm definitely gonna make sure that
I think it is.
is it on our
I
website?
think it is. I just ran into her and her dad recently. And,
Yeah, so it's a phenomenal resource too. And again, you can kind of pick and choose from that. It's not made to have like necessarily a set curriculum, but you know, you can pick what you want from that. And
Again, I like the idea of, again, I said again twice, it feels like we're tricking children into learning about things, you know?
It's through-
It's like making it fun.
It is, and
Buildings
it's
and
making it
parks.
fun.
Who doesn't love parks?
Right.
And all of a
It's-
sudden, you're what's the history of parks?
It's all about stories.
Next thing you know, it's
telling
like that
stories.
wormhole for these kids. We tricked you.
Yeah, well, and I think too, what also makes it exciting about doing local research is that there's also the opportunity for kids to discover new things and make new discoveries. And I think that is really exciting because oftentimes when you're learning about like the Revolution or you're learning about American history, it's often like there's this important document, there's this important thing to analyze, this important picture. And with local history research, kids are doing new research. They can make new discoveries. And I think that that is so exciting for kids to be like, yeah, I'm actually, you know, discovering new things that might not have been found before.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's so good about local history
It's
research.
empowering for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, plus it
Absolutely.
ties them to it. It's not like this big, you know, nebulous thing. It makes sense. It's
The
it
beauty
touches
of
them.
local research and local history is that, you know, like our street names. So you have kids walking around different neighborhoods and they're looking at architectural styles and then they recognize the name and then, oh, somebody built that and oh, the street's named
Then
after
they'll go to
that
the
person.
cemetery and they'll see the
The
stone.
Five Sisters,
Yeah.
you know, all of a sudden, or maybe they know that last name from somewhere
Yeah.
because it's all still pretty local. You know, so these names are still around here, and then they start to put all that together. You know,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, so there's a lot of resources out there, not just on our website, but I mean, you can do searches like the National Historic Preservation Trust. I know that they have lots of research information for kids and families. But if you're looking for local stuff, go to our website.
Reservationburlington.org is the way to go.
Or you're welcome to, you know, you can reach out to us. You're welcome to, if you reach out to us via email and you want to talk to me more personally about like curriculum, you totally can. I'm Karen Norwood, and
How long have you been teaching now?
this is my 8th year of teaching, going into my 9th year. So,
Wow.
and yeah, I can't say enough about how architecture is just, again, such a empowering and exciting way for kids to learn about history.
You don't like it at all, do you?
No, you can't pick up on the
And for
enthusiasm at all.
Older kids can follow your Instagram account, right?
Yeah, I do have an Instagram account, which I haven't updated in a while, but I do have one that has like lots of different architectural styles on it. It's like, what style is that? And there's some underscores in between each one. And that is a really fun visual way to learn about different architectural styles.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah, so your enthusiasm is palpable.
Yeah, thanks for having me on to talk about our resources that we have for students and families.
Well, I mean, it's good, and I still have brochures that I keep handing out, you know, because I think it was a really great project that you did all that.
We should make it into a workshop.
I know. That
should-
would
we
actually
should
be a great
bring
idea
the
for the
tubs
summer.
out.
And
do
I
a
just want to
workshop.
remind everybody, it's like we're very obviously we know each other. We're having fun. We have a lot of fun on the board. We're always looking for more committee members or board members. And if anybody has any questions, like you said, reach out to Karen, Lisa, or me, and just, you can just ask or join in.
Yeah,
And
we'd love to have more people get.
you'll do something interesting like create a toolkit and a curriculum, and next thing you know, you're on the TV show.
Well, and I know, and we've had so many over the years. I feel like we've had so many interns, and we've had so many board members that have done really awesome projects. And we are always really open. Like, if you're like, I'm really interested in historic photographs, or I'm really interested in development, like we are really excited to have people join the board with things that you're really passionate about.
Yep, lots of opportunity, and we've had lots of really interesting stuff accomplished because of it. So.
Yes, we have. Well, thanks for coming by. This was awesome.
Hey,
dive back
absolutely.
into it.
Yeah, anytime.
Well, and I guess because I'm watching the numbers, and I'd just like to thank everybody for tuning in to CCTV Live at 525, the Preservation Burlington Show. For more information on Burlington history, our tours and events, or everything we've talked about, and a marker for your historic house, go to preservationburlington.org. And we'll see you next month.